Well, hi diddly and low there. String do be strong. Big baby boy's back in town, and as you can see, my computer crashed. So that's certainly something. Also, blanket. Get tucked in, get your blankets on. I'm looking at you, Peyton. I know you have a blanket. Put it on. Get your snacks. I got some gummy worms. I don't like the green ones. And let's get to it.
You can cut it in half, in quarters, or if you want.
This is just so I can look at the comments. So let's go.
Want to slice it for a nice tart or a salad, but you just don't want to get that little piece of stem in there. It's kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess hard.
Fig.
These are figs. A lot of times you'll see these dry. Fresh figs are a treat. Just take the stem off, cut it in half. But look how beautiful the flesh is. And basically everything on this fig is edible. You just got to be really careful with them because they tend to break up. So if you're going to put figs on a salad or in a dish, I would cut them and then place them on later on. If you're going to roast them, that's great. Just remember, they don't like being beat up too much.
Plum.
This is a plum. Has a little stone in the center, really easy to take out. So all I'm really going to do is cut it down.
How good can you hear that, Peyton? Peyton, are you even on? 1 second. The big baby boy's back in town. Okay, me big boy back. Let's go.
Down the center, from the stem end, follow it all the way around, give it a twist. The seed comes out. If you want, you can take your knife and pull the seed out like this. But I also like to cut it into quarters, so I'll just cut it one more time.
Has anyone else taken
Give
a
it a
bite out of a
twist,
plum?
and the seed.
The sound is guck. Okay, that's good. Well,
Just pops right out. From here, you can slice the plum nice and thin. I do recommend leaving the skin on the plum. I think the skin really adds some sort of texture and flavor to it.
Lime.
This is a lime. I'm going to show you how to cut them for tacos or beer. And this is how I do it. Cut it in half.
the
Put
forbidden
it on the flat
liquid.
side. Cut it in half again. And then I usually cut it into little smaller pieces because I'm going to serve it either on a plate or stuff it in a beer. And that's how you cut a lime.
Lemon.
This is a lemon. A lot of different ways you can cut this. I'm going to cut it into supremes. I cut both ends
What the
off,
frick is
just
a
past where the
supreme?
pith is.
Piss.
And then I'm going to peel it all the way around. I'm going to follow the contour of the lemon, trying to get all the pith off, get rid of our skin. And then
What
we're going
the
to take
frick?
this and cut it in between the segments.
Why is he cutting
Just to
it
get
like
those
that?
supremes. You can go back
Stop.
afterwards and take out the seeds. I'm just trying to
Stop.
cut on the edge of it so that I get nice,
Who
even
cuts
slices of
lemons
lemon.
like that?
And that's how I cut a lemon.
Kiwi berry.
These are
Small
kiwi
boy.
berries. They are adorable. What we're going to do with kiwi berries is just take the little stem off right in your mouth. But we're going to cut one open. And look how beautiful that is.
It looks like
There's
a
not
kiwi.
much you have to do with
It's
it. Cut
literally
them,
a miniature
serve.
kiwi.
Kiwi berries. Delicious.
Amazing.
And adorable.
Thank you.
Longan.
This is a longan fruit, or a
I
longan.
think I've tried
They grow
one
on
of those.
trees. Obviously, they got the stems there. And it's a close cousin of lychee fruit. Really, all you want to do is kind of pierce the skin. You can just kind of crack it.
Oh,
and then
no,
open
never
it
mind.
up.
I haven't
It kind
tried
of just
that.
squeezes out into
I
your
wanna
hand.
try
you can
it,
cut
but
it away
I
from
haven't.
the seed, but they tend to cling to the seed a little. And the flesh is kind of this really cool translucent flesh. It's sweet, it's fragrant, it's juicy. Great
I
for
really wanna
cocktails,
try
great
one.
for
Those
desserts.
seem really good.
Gooseberries.
These are gooseberries. They have this beautiful kind of husk. It actually, when it hangs from the plant, looks kind of like a lantern. You peel the husk away, and you're just basically going to cut it. They have almost like a citrusy taste to them, and just a little sour. But it'd be a great condiment for things that are fatty, or even maybe something a little salty.
Prickly pear.
This
Aren't
is a
those the
prickly
ones
pear.
that come
A
from
prickly
cacti?
pear is basically the fruit from the top of a cactus. All you really need to do is cut off
I knew that.
both ends, It's got a beautiful flesh on the inside.
Ooh, that
You make
is
a
good
little
looking.
incision, and the skin should peel right away. And you get this beautiful, beautiful piece of fruit. Most people just eat this whole like this, but you can slice it.
Ooh,
that is
the
prickly
inside
pear.
looks horrible.
Star fruit.
This is a star fruit. Not much to do to star fruit. Basically, it comes in its own wrapper. You eat the wrapper. All you really need to do with star fruit is slice it. You take the end and the top off. Everything on the star fruit is edible. And you just cut into
Oh, it looks
slices.
like a star.
You don't even need to worry about the seeds.
Nice.
And you eat it.
Rambutan.
This is a rambutan
Rambutan.
or a bunch of rambutans. So what I like to do is just to make a little bit of an incision there, and then you can peel the skin away. What this has in the center, though, is a very hard seed. But if you want to get the flesh off of the seed, what you can do
Now
is
just pop it in
cut
your mouth.
around the seed. It's floral, fragrant. It's also really juicy. Goes
How
really well
can
with gin
a
and vodka.
fruit be
When you get a
fragrant?
bite of it, you're not really so.
I was at whenever you were looking at the rambutan, and don't you remember that Brave Wilderness did a challenge of eating all of those? Don't you remember? That?
Oh, no, it was Mom and Genie.
It looks like the same thing.
Yeah, it does.
I'm pretty sure it's just the same thing. Maybe they just call it different things.
Hold on, are you still watching? Okay. Close the freaking door! Oh, these are my gummy worms.
Sure what it is. It has that kind of like sweet, fragrant candy flavor.
Passion fruit.
This is a passion fruit. Delicious, sour, not hard to process. Chef knife, cut it around the equator, open her up. Oh,
it looks
good.
like
This is
throw
basically
up on
what
the
you want to see.
inside.
Nice kind of juicy passion fruit. Super sour, but delicious.
Mandarin orange.
This is a mandarin. Usually what I'll do is I'll just get my thumb in there, right where the stem is, and I'll peel it by hand. And then all you really need to do is pull the sections apart, and you eat the sections. Nothing else to be done. Mandarin. This is a persimmon. It's delicious,
looks
but
like
it
a
can also
tiny,
catch you. If you cut this when it's not ripe and you eat it, it has a very drying effect on your tongue. And all I do is cut it open. When I want to take any
does
stem
look
out,
like a
I cut it
pumpkin
in
on the
half and I make a
inside.
little bit of a V cut. And then you can just cut this into slices. You can peel it or you can eat the peel. This one looks like it needs to just ripen just a little bit more. It's kind of sweet. It's getting there.
Medium fruits. Pepino melon.
This is pepino melon. When I hear pepino, I think cucumber because pepino is how you say cucumber in Spanish. So we crack it open.
never knew that.
Ooh, look at that. I'm gonna give it a whiff.
That looks really good on the inside.
Smells like a cross between a cucumber and a melon. Let me cut this in half. The skin kind of peels away really nice. I'm gonna take some of the seed pod out. It's got a nice soft flesh.
Oh, that looks so good.
And exactly like it advertises. It tastes like a cross between a cucumber and a melon.
Quince.
This is a quince. Kind of looks like a cross between an apple and a pear. Quince needs to be processed before you actually eat it. And the way that I do that is I'm going to cut off both ends and peel. The aroma when you first cut it is just amazing. It's super fragrant, but you can see if you look at the flesh, it's really dry. So quince needs to be cooked for a little while. Take off the peels, cut it in half, and then in quarters. And then we're going to just take out the center just like an apple. Get in there, angle your knife down to take out the seeds.
Oh,
And
speaking
you want to
of
make
that,
sure.
I'm gonna go get one. Be right back, stream. So when you gonna get apples? I got a bit of the peel on the apple. Okay. Guck is like saying Gucci except with the E, so like gooch.
that you get all of that kind of center pith out, and then you just dice it. This or the pomegranate was in the Garden of Eden. It wasn't an apple, it was a quince or a pomegranate. A little trivia.
I knew pomegranate.
Cherimoya.
This is a cherimoya. I'm just gonna cut this in half, and there's a bunch of black seeds in the center. It has a white, kind of creamy flesh. And you kind of gotta pull it away from the seeds to eat it. You're basically gonna pull this away and eat it. Spit the seeds out and eat the flesh off of the skin. And that's pretty good.
Apple.
This is an apple. 2 pieces of equipment. I have a peeler and a knife. First thing I do is peel the apple. Take the top off with the peeler in one round ring. Take the bottom off in a round ring. And then just take the skin off. Okay? Peeled, cut my apple in quarters, and then I take the core out.
Dragon fruit.
This is a dragon fruit. You'll see these a lot in Chinatowns across the United States, but it's really easy to take care of and cut up open. You just want to cut off both ends. Look at that beautiful inside and the skin. Beautiful colors. You want to cut off both ends, and then all you really need to do is score it, and the skin should peel right off. You just get your finger underneath the skin, and it peels right off. And then it has this beautiful interior. I'm going to cut this in half, but look at that. It looks like sesame seeds. Kind of reminds me of cucumbers a little. That's a dragon fruit.
Avocado.
This is an avocado. This I cut in my hand. I take my chef knife, and I'm gonna just cut. And instead of moving the knife, I move the avocado. I just roll my avocado, leave the knife stationary, okay? Twist, beautiful. That one's perfectly ripe. This is where people get stabbed and cut, and they make specialty knives for this. You don't have to really slam it, just a nice little tap. And you see how far the knife goes in? Twist it. And then to get the seed off, instead of grabbing at it, you just take your pointer finger and your thumb and you pinch it off and it falls off. Give it to your kids, put in a glass of water, some toothpicks, and you'll have an avocado tree. When it comes to this, there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can cut this in half, and usually the peel will just come right off. And this is, you can dice that, put it in salad. You can also get a paring knife and do the crosshatch method if you're gonna make guacamole. Put the knife in one way, go the other way. And then usually what I do is I just give it a squeeze and it pops right out. If you squeeze it, you kind of start with a nice dice of avocado. And you don't have to take it out and dice it. It's just pretty much already diced for you when you take it out.
Oh no, an ad. I didn't think
We do it every night. Every night.
I live alone, but I still do it every night.
Right
Out of the skin.
Peach.
This is a peach, and this is how you cut a peach. 2 types of peaches, a freestone and a clingstone. Freestone peach that I have here, the pit will actually come out just by kind of twisting and a little prying. Clingstone you kind of have to cut away, and all I do is this. Cut it in half with a paring knife. Give it a twist. See the pit comes out, and instead of kind of digging at that and stabbing myself, I'm gonna cut one more time and pull this away, and then the pit just pulls away. Pit goes in the garbage, and then you can slice this however you want. If you're going to do a tart, you can just slice, or you can just eat it out of hand.
Pomegranate.
This is a pomegranate. There's a lot of different ways to process these. I'm going to show you 2 ways. The first way, I have a bowl, I have a spoon, and I have a pomegranate. I'm going to cut it in half. So some of the seeds might get cut, but it's no big deal. I put the cut side of the pomegranate into my palm, and I get a spoon that's fairly heavy, and I tap. And as I tap, you can see that I'm rotating. Keep tapping until all of them out. See, I got most of them out. And you can go back, and if there's any little pieces of the inner membrane, you can take it out. And that's it. That's how you cut a pomegranate.
Orange.
This is an orange. Most people just peel this in hand and eat it like that. I'm going to show you the way chefs do it. What we're going to do is take the top and the bottom off first, and then we're going to peel the orange, trying to hold the shape of it and get all of the pith off. And what we're gonna make today is called supremes. Supreme just basically means the best part of the orange. And then we get our small paring knife, and we're gonna cut sections, just on the inside of each of the segments. Supreme with orange.
Yellow plantain.
This is a yellow plantain. Same as the green plantain, except it's just a little riper, a little softer. It's had a little time to mature
That
and get
was
a
like
little
a banana.
sweeter. We're gonna process this and take out the flesh. What I usually do with this, I cut off both.
So it's neither.
Ends. I do a little score just with the tip
That's
of
literally
the
just
knife.
a freaking banana.
Once, twice, and I get my finger under the skin, and the peel just comes off like almost like a regular banana. It's super starchy. It's actually a little sticky right now. You want to cook this before you eat it. And before you cook it, usually I'll slice it into nice thick slices. I'll take this, deep fry it, give it a little bit of a smash, and then fry it again. That's a Maduro. Maduros are usually something from a sweet plantain.
Green plantain.
Similar to any other plantain, this one just happens to be on the unripe side. It hasn't turned yellow yet, hasn't gotten dark, and it's not really super sweet. It's really starchy. Gonna cut this the same way we would cut any other plantain. I take the ends off. The flesh is a little different color. It's usually a little pinker. Just the tip of the knife to score the skin. It's a little harder to get off than the yellow plantain, but if you get your hand under it, your finger under it, you peel it away. The difference between this and a yellow plantain is sometimes the green plantain tends.
Ayo, Chad, is it okay if we freaking watch this one next? And then go back to how to blank every blank? Is that okay, chat? Just kidding, there's only 2 of you watching. Wow. Y'all really have time for this. You good? No, I just want to watch the one. Oh, dang it. Well.
Tends to oxidize. The flesh is a lot firmer. You're not going to eat this like this. It's probably not going to be all that delicious. This is where they'll make plantain chips out of, or you make tostones. You take these, you'll cut them in slices, fry them until they're soft, and then you smash them and fry them again. It makes a tostone.
Mango.
This is a mango. The way I cut a mango is I need a paper towel, a chef knife, and a peeler. And I'll just peel it in my hand. Once I get about to here, I'm going to take my paper towel and put the mango in the paper towel so it doesn't slip and I don't cut myself with the peeler. Get all the peel off, and you'll see that if I lay it flat, it's kind of fat. I want to do it on the skinny side, so you'll see it's skinny. The seed runs this way with the mango. So I'll take the mango, stand it up, go about 1/3 of the way in, and slice. One lobe falls off. The other lobe falls off. The seed, like I said, is going to be right around there.
Tried an actual,
so I'm going to
mango.
cut the edges off. Now with this piece, that's the treat for the chef. You eat it. With this, you cut it however you want it, in slices or in dices. Same thing goes for the flesh over here. You can just dice it up or cut it in thin slices. And that's how you cut a mango. Here's another way to cut a mango. Don't need to peel it. Again, you want to stand the mango up, not lay it flat. You cut close to the seed on either side. You can cut the flesh off on this side. Get a paring knife. I'm just going to make some crosshatch marks. I go one way, I turn it, and I go the other way. And then you can turn it out and pop the mango out and eat it like that. That's delicious.
Grapefruit.
This is a grapefruit. This is a pink grapefruit. I'm pretty sure it's a pink
Grapefruit tastes
grapefruit. I
like
don't have
hand
X-ray vision, but usually you
sanitizer.
can see from the skin. Similar to most citrus fruits, this is what I would do. Take off the ends, and then I basically peel off the skin. And then you just find the center, and you take out the segments.
Use the hammer. Use the hammer.
And what we're going to do now, we're going to smash this grapefruit. You ready? It's going to get messy. Oh boy, that's visual.
Large fruits.
That's a durian.
Durian.
Okay, you gotta watch yourself. It's a little dangerous. It's a durian or a durian fruit. Notorious for being stinky. Not allowed in bus stations. Not allowed on trains or airplanes. They're basically sequestered. They are the scourge of Southeast Asia, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a towel and hold it, and I'm just gonna score it, right? The skin isn't, it looks a lot tougher than it is. I'm gonna score it all the way around. And it doesn't smell that bad. Usually it's a little stinkier, right? And then I'm gonna get my towels, and I'm gonna lean on it, and I'm gonna pry it apart, okay? You pry it apart, And this is what you eat inside. And this is how you would eat it. There's a little seed inside. You want to take the seed out. And it kind of smells like onions and feet. And that is a durian.
Papaya.
Oh, papaya.
This is a papaya, okay? I like to use my knife. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cut off both ends. And that's a really nice looking papaya inside. It should have that nice kind of pink blush on the inside. So I'm going to cut this in half just to make it a little more manageable. And I'm going to lay it on its flat side and I'm going to peel it. I'm not too worried about the seeds getting on my board. The seeds are actually edible. I wouldn't say they're delicious, but they kind of like remind me a little bit of a bland caviar. I'm going to get rid of all the skin. I'm going to put this one aside for now. The seeds I'm going to put into a bowl. I'm going to pull this over to the edge, cut this in half. Open her up, and then you just get your bowl, scrape your seeds and pulp out, and you can do this pretty much however you want it. You can slice it, cut it into large dice, and that's how you cut a papaya.
Pineapple.
This is a pineapple, and this is how you cut a pineapple. We have a couple different ways of doing this, but this is the way that I would do it. Take my pineapple, take the top and the bottom off. I lay it on the flat side, and I'm just going to peel away the skin. I make sure that I go deep enough to get all these little...
Hold on a second. Gotta throw this away. Okay, me back.
Eyes out. So get most of the eyes off. I take the pineapple and I split it right down the middle. Split it right down the middle again, and I get it into quarters. And right down here in the middle of the pineapple is really fibrous and kind of woody. What I'll do is I'll lay it on its side and take out that center core. So once you get that core out, you can make it into some nice slices. I have it nice and flat here. Really nice. Beautiful sliced pineapple. Here's another way to cut a pineapple. And if you're going to serve the pineapple on maybe a buffet or something that you want a little more visual, this is the other way you can do it. You take the pineapple and you're going to cut it directly in half with the skin on. And you're going to go all the way through the top of the pineapple as well. Okay? It looks really pretty like that. And then you're going to quarter it all the way through. Try not to stab yourself. I'm going to lay it on its side and take out most of the core. I'm going to take off the end. And then we're going to cut it not all the way through. You can do it with a paring knife or a chef knife. We're going to cut it almost all the way through. And then we're going to cut it down this side and then down this side. So that
ain't gonna take the skin
pop
off.
out. And that's the way you can cut a pineapple for like a buffet or something that you're going to serve and make it look pretty.
Cantaloupe.
This is a cantaloupe. And this is how you cut a cantaloupe. In a professional kitchen, you always want to get things flat. This is round. It rolls around our board. So what I'm going to first do is cut our ends off. And then I'm going to peel it with my knife. Follow the contour of the cantaloupe. Get all the skin off. You don't want any of that green pith. It's not bad for you. You're not going to get sick from it, but it just doesn't taste really.
1 second. Just gotta check on OBS. How good can y'all hear me? Because the highest I've gone is here. As you can see.
Really good. It's just kind of bland and plain. Follow the contour so you got that nice cantaloupe shape. We're going to cut it in half. And then we're going to remove all the seeds. And we're just going to scrape the seeds out. Put it on its flat side. You can cut these little ends off. Those are snacks for you as the chef. And you could slice it if you're going to do a fruit plate. Or you can just cut it into slices, either like that or dice it. That's how I cut a cantaloupe.
How do you make cantaloupe cute?
This is a pomelo. It's a close cousin to the grapefruit, to oranges. It's a citrus fruit. I take the top and the bottom off, make a little bit of a score, not all the way through, but just to break the skin. Skin can be used for candying, but the skin and the pith tend to be used in the pomelo as well as the fruit. Crack it open. You get this really kind of cool sarlacc pit alien look to it. And then you're just going to peel off these little nodes. I've seen different vodkas flavored with pomelo. It almost has kind of a savory flavor, but it does smell a little more like air freshener than something you really want to eat.
Pumpkin.
So this is a pumpkin. This is classically what people use for jack-o'-lanterns. I'm just going to whack this sucker in half, okay? I'm just going to cut the stem right off. And then I'm just going to cut it directly in half. And I'm going to kind of do what I call the axe murderer on it. I'm going to stab right through, push my knife all the way down, and kind of just pull my knife down, right? If I just plunge the knife through and kind of make a guillotine motion a little, it cuts in half really easy. Okay? You scoop the seeds out, and when you have the oven on, you can toast the seeds. I usually just wash these with a little water to get all this stuff off. Toast the seeds right next to it.
Honeydew.
This is a honeydew, and I'm going to show you how to cut it. What I like to do with honeydews is square off the ends. Round things on cutting boards are dangerous, and you cut your fingers a lot. And then I use a small chef knife, and I use that with a little slight sawing motion, and then we cut it in half. Okay? Then we would get a bowl. I'm going to scrape out all the seeds and all the seed pods, what holds the seeds in there. And then what I do is I'll turn this on the flat side, cut it one more time, cut it again. With this, we can cut it just like this, or we can dice. And then you can just slice it. I think it makes some nice slices for
squares of it though.
Oh, great.
Watermelon.
This is a watermelon. And this is how you cut a watermelon. Watermelons can be a little unruly. They're really big. They roll around a lot. So what I normally do is I'll cut the ends off. Give myself a flat side. And if you want to eat that, you can. And then I lay it on its flat side, so it's easy to cut. And then I'm going to just cut it right down the center. Try and get it as even as possible just so it looks good. Okay? Open her up. Put this on the side. Cut it down the center again. And then we're going to cut it like we're at a barbecue. You can cut it one more time if the little watermelon's really big, but then you just cut it into slices. So what you can also do, if you want, is after you have your slices, you can do a little cross cut here. Take these little edges off. So that when you eat it, you don't get that watermelon in your face. It'll give you a cleaner bite. And it looks like a little house.
No, don't
Oh
use
boy.
the hammer on the watermelon.
You guys ready for this?
Use the hammer. Use the hammer.
Okay, you guys ready? Again, we're going for maximum. Maximum destruction here. Okay, you ready?
Slow motion.
Okay, you ready?
I caught that at the perfect time. Frick. Playback speed 25. Now let's watch it in slow mode. That was actually kind of cool.
I should have brought a second chef jacket, guys. Might not have cut every type of fruit today, but if you kind of just look at it and see how it's shaped, you can pretty much figure out how you want to cut it every single time. There was some
Okay, chat. What video should we watch next? Frick. Okay, so there's a few. We're saving for how to fillet a fish for last. So we can either do how to mix every vodka, or how to cut every vegetable, how many are there? Okay, so 1, 2. Oh, or how to open every shellfish. Okay, somebody, please choose, Peyton. Because you're the only one watching. No, this will be faster. Just 1 second. Oh, never mind. Peyton commented some. What did he comment? How to open the shellfish. Okay, let's do that. As you can see, I already watched a bit of it, getting ready.
Nip.
Stop. Oh, this is the same dude that did the how to fillet every fish. Well, I mean, it makes sense.
I'm Mike Cruz, manager of Greenpoint Fish Wholesale, and I'm here to show you how to prep
Cheeto.
every shellfish. When I prepare
Dang, that's a lot,
shellfish, I
thanks.
like to have 3 knives with me. a large, heavy-backed chef's knife, a smaller, curved, stiff knife for trimming, as well as a thin, flexible knife that is great for getting around shells and other intricate places. It actually has a really nice feature where it extends.
What?
Lobster and crab pickers, an oyster knife, which can get into the hinge really
Dang,
well,
how
a
does
clam knife, a shrimp deveiner, a shellfish scissor, which
Okay,
is
I
great
don't
for
care
cutting
about
through lobster
whatever
tails
he's
without
saying.
damaging any of
Just
the
look
flesh.
at those
I have an
pictures.
offset
How does he
spatula,
get
and for
them
special
so
circumstances, we're going to use a black light.
Crustaceans.
Blue crab.
Crustaceans.
So this is a blue crab, definitely native to East Coast waters. First things first, we're going to steam this crab roughly 6 minutes. It'll turn bright red and it'll be ready to pick out all the meat. We'll pick the crab up, starting with its front claws.
always
We'll
thought
just pinch
crabs were
straight
red,
from where
but-
it connects to the
No,
body,
that's only
down
whenever you
and
boil
out.
them.
Same with the
I
other
didn't
side,
know that.
down and out. And we'll do the same for all the legs and the back swimmers here. So now we're left with just the body. We'll flip the crab upside down and lift up the apron here. And this will just snap right off, exposing a opening there
That looks
where
like
we'll
a
get our
butthole.
thumbs in
I think
and
that's
just
a
peel
butthole.
off that top shell.
It
Now
probably
here we
is.
have some gills, some other organs,
poop
and we're just
chute.
going to remove those. This is the faceplate, which will also just peel right off. Clean out any excess organs from the center cavity, and we're just going to crack this right in half. Going to peel back these little layers of cartilage that hold the meat in, and using now our little picking tool to just very gently start pulling out that
That
really
does not
delicate,
look
sweet crab
appetizing
meat.
at all.
The meat will be covered
I want some
with a
crab
super
legs
thin
right now. They
membrane.
sound good.
It just really easily peels right off.
Peyton's tried
And you
them.
essentially just want to
Sound
get your
good.
skewer
Good
into
job.
any little crevice that you find and pulling straight out and getting out every little last bit of meat. That's your body. Now with the claws, separate out the pinchers, the legs, tiny little knuckles. We're just going to come in on the most rounded part and just start snipping away. Crack that shell open and pry that claw meat right out of there. Also, the leg. There really isn't much meat in these little back legs here. The best thing I would do with these is just suck them dry. It's really delicious. That's pretty much how you break down a blue crab. Soft shell crab. This is a blue crab that has molted. So basically they're changing shells, and during this phase, their shells are soft. You can actually eat the whole crab this way, shell and all. Currently, they are out of season. So right now we have a frozen soft shell crab. The head of the crab is here. And that has a bunch of organs in it that we won't be eating today. Your first step is going to be just to snip right behind the eyes there. Discard
That
that
is a
section.
super soft
After that,
shell.
we'll flip the crab over. We'll remove this apron section here and lift up actually the top shell and expose the gills here. And we'll just trim those off. Same thing to the other side. So this is a completely dressed, ready-to-eat soft-shell crab. This thing, deep fried, in a sandwich, perfect. Dungeness crab. These are a West Coast species of crab. Really sweet,
Giant
really
enemy
delicious, really
crab.
tender meat. When purchasing all live shellfish, you want to make sure that they're alive. Look at their eyes, make sure that they're convex and round, not concaved and sunken in. People tend to steam them mostly. You want to aim for 10 minutes per pound, and you can add on about 5 minutes per pound after that.
Oh no, abs!
Creamy ranch, sweet and sour, spicy buffalo, tangy barbecue. Each McNugget, a chance to diversify your sauce portfolio. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
So this is a cooked Dungeness crab. We're going to pick the crab up, and we'll start by just breaking claws off. From the joint down here, we're just going to pull down and twist out. We'll do that for all of these. You want to really make sure you're at the joint when you do this. Now that the legs are removed, we're going to start and just focus in on the head. Flip it over, and we're going to remove what is called the apron of the crab. This just pulls right out really easily. And now that leaves you with a cavity. Put your thumbs in like that, and just pull back the
The
head.
cavity is the butthole.
This is what's called the mustard of the crab. And this is really delicious, so do not throw it out and just hold it off to the side for now. So now we're just gonna focus in
Delicious.
on
That
the
looks like
meat
puke.
in the actual body itself. So we'll be taking off these gills here, which you do not want to eat. Any extra pieces that are kind of getting in your way with your hands for now. This is the mouth organs. We'll just snap those off easily. Now,
Something I
crack
really
this
wanted
crab
to do
in
is
half,
just-
which you can do with your hands. You'll just turn it away from you and just pull apart. One more
Take the
time.
full crab
So essentially,
and
you're
then
cracking
just
this into
take a
quarters.
chunk out of it. Just
Once you have it broken down into quarters, you'll start to see there are little cavities that all contain the meat. With your skewer, go in there and just scoop around the cavities. They have sections of what almost looks like really thin plastic that separates all that meat. This easily can get into the meat itself, so you want to be careful when you're doing this to kind of make sure that you're only getting the meat out of the crab. We're going to move on to the legs. We're just going to take them out. This first little digit here we can just remove and toss, and then we'll just break it down on the joints. I'll snap one way until it's free, and then coming out the other way. And ideally this will take out any pieces of cartilage with it. If you have a pair of shellfish scissors here, they're curved to avoid any meat. So you can just come straight in and just cut that. And you can crack the shell right open and pull out some really beautiful full pieces of crab leg. And we'll use our skewer just to scoop it out. So that's a leg. Now we'll do a claw. Again, putting pressure on the opposite way of the joint. Remove this section first, then the knuckle,
under the sea.
the actual claw on
Downwards,
the hinge.
water,
Pop
downwards,
it once
water.
until it breaks on that side. Bring it back the other way, and you should be pulling out that
Just
entire
under the sea,
cartilage piece
playing
there
on
that's right in the
repeat
middle
while I'm
of
watching
all the
this.
meat in your claw. Take
Fun.
the scissors, and we're just going to cut. Go through the knuckle, through the claw. Keep going on these. Really beautiful, full piece of leg. And that's how you pick crab legs. A great way to find any extra pieces of shell that may be stuck in your crab meat is a black light.
Time bomb.
I think that was everything. Maine lobster.
Under
You always
the
want to have a
sea.
live product. With
Under
lobster
the
specifically
sea.
and most shellfish generally,
Downwards,
you never want to be
water,
eating a lobster
downwards.
that's been dead for more than 24 hours. The meat within their bodies decays very quickly, so essentially having a live lobster in front of you tells you, I know this is safe, I know this is fresh, I know this is going to be delicious. Before you cook it, you're going to want to kill it in the most humane way possible. Put your knife in at the base of the head where the body meets, press straight down, and just crack down. There may be some residual movement, but that's just the nervous system firing. You can continue your cut if you wanted, straight down the middle if you were looking to grill the tails, but either way, your lobster is now ready to be prepped. Take off these bands, which are just there to protect you from getting pinched. Pick the lobster up by the body, hold it pretty firmly. You're gonna wanna get the tail pretty much where the joint meets the body. Twist one way, twist another way just to loosen it up, and then go a full rotation with it while
That's a
pulling out.
wonderful.
So there you'll have your lobster tail.
The meat
You'll come around
looks
to the front
so
side of the
weird in
lobster. And grabbing the claw from where it connects to the body, pinch right there and just twist and pull out. Same thing to the other side. And then these small legs separate out one by one. So here you have your tail, your pincher, your crusher, and your legs. We'll take the claws, and again, where that joint meets here, you're just going to want to use your thumbs to just kind of crack and open. Like there, and then you have a knuckle, which will just twist right off. Same thing to the pincher claw. So there you have a lobster fully broken down and ready to cook. Cooked Maine lobster. So here I have a cooked lobster, and I'm going to show you how to take all of the meat out. So starting with the arms, we'll just pinch from the joints, down and twist out, and go into the back tail. Give it a twist one way, and finish it out
Larry the
other way.
lobster.
And then for the legs, snap them off. To get the tail meat out in the easiest way, these back fins here, they kind of peel right off by just snapping them back, and you'll see already the tail meat is starting to expose itself. holding the lobster tail between your fingers in both hands. Give it a squeeze, one time. And then you'll turn it away from you and pull outwards. This should free up the entire tail, leaving nothing inside. Moving on to the crusher claw. Pull this claw down on its joint away. As soon as you hear that crack, pull up on the other side to free up the bottom half. And just give it like a little twist as it comes out. And you should leave the claw meat still attached to the claw. From here, we can separate out the knuckle, and then again from the leg joint. With the crusher claw, use a heavy back knife and just give it a smack right on the fattest part there. Same thing on the other side. Once you have those two sides cracked, you can pretty much just take your hand and crush it. Careful not to destroy the meat on the inside. Wiggle that claw right out. The same thing to the pincher. Pull it straight out. For the knuckle meat, you can use a specialized tool like this, specifically made for scooping out lobster meat. Go in through one of the openings, run the tip of it along the edge of the shell, trying to stay as tight as possible and not break into any of the meat. You come in through the other side and you can just push and shimmy that knuckle meat right out. For the remaining parts of the leg, stick a skewer, the end of a spoon, something thin and non-flexible, in to this first joint here, and you can kind of pop right out. And that meat comes right out, just like that. An often underutilized part of the lobster is actually their legs. People think that there's little to no meat in them and they don't see it as a worthwhile project to take on. It's actually really easy and pretty fun. You have a rolling pin, you lay these out flat on a cutting board, and kind of like toothpaste, you can just squeeze that meat out. The meat just squeezes right out. So this is a lobster fully picked. Your crusher, your pincher, your knuckles, your leg meats, and then your remainder leg meat, and your tail. Crawfish.
Oh, that's a small boy.
This is a live crawfish. They're actually capable of traversing small distances of land. Whenever I get these in my job, you'll find them in the office, you'll find them in the locker room, you'll find them in the bathroom. When you least expect it, you look down and there's just a crawfish waiting for you. And they're really fun and easy to make and eat. So if you're doing a crawfish boil, I would definitely suggest maybe 10 to 15 minutes for a big pot of them. Just let them cook with everything and pull them out once they're bright red. So here we have our cooked crawfish. They're like mini lobsters. So what you want to do is separate that tail from the body, hold on to the tail, and just give it a twist. This is what you eat on a crawfish, but it's not the only thing you necessarily enjoy. You want to make sure to suck out all of these delicious head juices. It's just delicious. So for the tail, these little back fins back here, peel those off quickly. Ideally, that will also remove any sort of intestinal tract. You can just peel them right out of their shell, super fast and easy. Simple as that. Delicious.
There's a lot of ads in this.
How fast does Dove Dry Spray actually dry? Let's see.
It's dry. There's no dry time.
Makes us wonder why we book 15-second ad slots. Dries instantly and keeps you protected for 48 hours.
Dino. Langostino is actually a catch-all term for what is a type of squat lobster. We are going to remove these back set of fins off the tail, pull right back, and just twist them off. The meat from the tail is exposed. Grabbing it in each of its sections between two fingers, I'm just going to squeeze until I hear a crack. I'm going to do that for each little segment here. This one actually has some really gorgeous blue eggs underneath it. Continue to peel the shell. Basically, this thing will just peel right off in individual segments, all the way down.
I want to see him just take a bite out of that lobster.
And we'll do
Just
the same
take a
thing to
lobster
the other
and then
side. Once that's done, you can flip it over and just start peeling it back. And just revealing that really gorgeous flesh. Snap that bottom membrane and just very gently peel it. And you will be left with an absolutely gorgeous langostino. I would just barely poach this thing, or really ideally just serve it raw like this. American white shrimp. We have the head on with this guy. So what we'll do, just grab the head with one hand, grab the tail with the other hand, and you're just gonna twist it off. I have a shrimp deveiner. Flatten the shrimp out in your hand and extend it. You're gonna go all along the top shell of the shrimp and then come out right before the tail. And now, with our hands, we can just go in and just remove it. Segment by segment, you can choose to leave the tail fins on, or you just peel them right off. Now what you're gonna do is run your knife just along the top of the shrimp, gently exposing where the intestinal tract will be, making sure there's nothing there, and there you will have a peeled and deveined shrimp. Prawn. Prawns and shrimp, very similar. Prawns have an extra set of pinchers right up in the front. We're going to peel, devein, and today we're going to take it one step further, and I'm going to show you how to butterfly the prawn as well. First things first, we are going to remove the head.
How can you
by
butterfly a
holding onto the
freaking
head
prawn?
and the tail separately and just twisting off. For the prawn tail, we're going to use our deveiner. We're going to go in straight at the top of the shell and just follow all the way down. Then with our hands, we're just going to come back and peel everything off. And we'll use our tool to open up the tail and just remove that as well. Now, you'll see intestinal tract, some other organs in here, and we're just going to use our hands to just make sure we get all of those out. And now that we have it cleaned up, take the sharp part of our shrimp knife here, and right where that intestinal tract was, we're just going to follow that line, being careful not to cut all the way through the underside of the prawn. Now once you have it opened up, you can cut a little bit on one side, a little bit on the other side. Just very shallow cuts here until the prawn lays flat. And that's how you butterfly a prawn. Butterflying is particularly great for even quick cooking, but these certainly lend themselves well to being grilled shell on. You can broil them, bake them, boil them, steam them. It's just a great product to work with. Sea scallop. Live sea scallops are bivalves, which essentially means they have two shells, a top shell and a bottom shell, which are joined right at the end with a hinge. Locate the top shell, which is always going to be more rounded, and the bottom shell will always be a little more flat. Enter the scallop in from the back shell, not the top shell. I like to stand my scallop up on the hinge, locate where the gap is, use my knife to really wedge it open, and my fingers to hold it there. I'll stick my flexi knife underneath the eyes, peel them back slightly, locate the muscle, and really staying tight to the back shell, and going slow. I'll just wiggle my knife straight down until it frees open that muscle. This lip on the outside is actually where they have a large number of eyes. You don't want to be eating any of that. You're gonna peel back the eyes.
That's freaking disgusting.
Hold on to that membrane and just pull everything out. So now you're left with the main muscle attached to the bottom shell. The muscle is always on one side of the scallop, slightly more than the other. So you want to get on that closer side. Using something flexible, in a swooping motion, press down pretty hard with your knife, and the scallop will slide right out. And then you have live sea scallop. Duxbury oyster.
That's a small
There are lots of
boy.
different types of oysters out there. Generally speaking, there's one way to shuck them. You have a flat side, and then you have a cup that holds the meat. So you're going to want to turn the cup down on your cutting board and get a good grip on it flat. And you'll see there's a hinge here.
And then just
with
smash
bit of
it with a
gap.
hammer. Just
Take your shucking knife and just get it into that gap. To get a little bit deeper, you're going to want to put some pressure going this way towards the front of the oyster while also wiggling. But you don't want to be pressing so hard that if you slip, you have a bad accident. There's no rush with this. You'll feel it. And once the knife is stuck in the oyster, give it another little wiggle just to crack the oyster open slightly. Take the knife out and come along this side closest to you. With just the tip of your knife, you're going to be wiggling and staying very tight to that top shell until you cut the first muscle holding here. You'll do the same thing on the other side. You should have a fairly clean oyster. There's one more muscle down here
I've
that's
tried
also
oyster
holding the
before.
meat onto the bottom half of the shell. So you'll come in, careful not to spill too many juices, and you'll just sort of free up that one side. And there you go, a shucked oyster. ready to go. East Coast oysters are definitely a favorite amongst a lot of people, especially here on the East Coast. They have a higher salinity to them. They're more briny, so that's going to equal more salt in the flavor of your oyster. Baywater sweets. These come from the West Coast, out of Washington State. Same as always, the shells on these can be a little brittle, so you will want to take extra caution. And their hinges sometimes are covered by extra pieces of shell that kind of come up. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle until you start to feel yourself about to get in, and you just pop. You're all freed up. There you have a shucked West Coast oyster. I could definitely crush a dozen of these easily. European flat. Also sometimes known as Bouillon oysters. First step for these is to remove the band. So you find the hinge right where the two shells
It's not
connect.
like it's gonna bite you or anything.
Don't stop pressing, and you'll feel it start to go slightly in more until you get that pop. Get that hinge free. I'm trying my best to keep the oyster as flat in my palm as possible, just to not leak out all of those juices. Free up that bottom muscle. And there you have a European flat shucked oyster. I don't like these oysters, but I'm gonna taste it. Yeah. All right. It's like licking a battery.
Not delicious.
Prince Edward Island mussel.
Hey.
These mussels come from Prince Edward Island off the east coast of Canada. One important thing, if it's alive, it should be tightly shut. Or if it's open a little bit, pretty much as soon as you touch it or tap it or give it a squeeze or something like that, it should shut up by itself. Within the mussel, there's probably going to be a little bit of sand and
Well, let's watch
it
that
should
again.
shut up. If it's open a little bit, pretty much as soon as you touch it or tap it or give it a squeeze or something like that, it should shut up by itself. Within the mussel, there's probably going to be a little bit of sand and grit, so definitely take at least a minimum of an hour to purge your mussels and give them time to release that sand. Your next step is essentially going to be removing the beard of the mussel, which is what the mussel uses to attach onto rocks, or if they're farmed, onto the ropes that they're hanging from. You'll find it on the flat end of the mussel. Kind of looks like hairs. So you're going to want to grab onto those, get a good grip on them as you wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Once you have the beard exposed a little bit more, you'll pinch it between your two fingers, really focus on the wiggling, 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 and then it'll just pop right out. And your mussels are ready to cook.
Okay, time. How about we do this? Which one do you want more? How to mix every martini cocktail. How to mix every cocktail, or how to
Hard shell clams.
Every
depending on where you're from, you're going to call them something different.
How to chop
a little
every,
neck, a count neck, a cocktail clam. Some
every
people will
vegetable.
call this
There
a
we
top
go.
neck, a cherry stone. At the end of the day, they're all hard
No,
shell.
just here. I'll wait. it turns out Peyton is asleep, and he's basically the only one who's commenting, so we'll finish it next time, okay? Goodbye, guys.